Welcome to the Courting Happiness podcast. This is a place where self-care becomes part of your day, a space where you learn evidence-based strategies to help your life, share it with those you love, and cultivate well-being at work. I'm your host, Dr. Kortni Alston. I'm a former news director, television reporter, turned happiness scholar, TEDx speaker, and transformational trainer. I also understand hardships. While working my dream job in television, I lived a nightmare of suddenly becoming a young widow after 86 days of marriage. I became committed to learning more about resilience, healing, and happiness. This is how I discovered my area of research, which is positive psychology. Now I'm living my calling of training individuals and organizations on happiness, and my new chapter begins with being happily engaged. The Courting Happiness is about a true courtship, I like to say, commitment with happiness. The K in courting stands for the vulnerability of sharing my story, inspirational interviews with phenomenal people, the infusion of positive psychology, and so much more. You'll learn how to commit to your well-being one episode at a time. I hope you subscribe and share. So, are you ready? Let's get started. Welcome to episode 16. We're going to tackle meaning and purpose today. So, we're not just going to talk about it. We're going to share some questions that are really going to help you with your life's purpose and understanding the meaning in your life. In episode 15, I mentioned a scholar. Her name is Bridget Greenville Cleave, who has written an amazing book called Positive Psychology, A Practical Guide. If you're new to the world of positive psychology, this is a phenomenal read. It's really a must get. This is an amazing book to purchase because it's a great book in terms of helping you get started, but it provides so much insight. She shares so many different areas in terms of research as it relates to positive psychology that, like I said, provides insight, but then also it provides this practical strategies to help you transform your life. Now, in meaning and purpose, she discusses that meaning provides two central functions in our lives. First, she says it provides a bedrock foundation, which helps us kind of bounce back. We often refer that to resilience, right? In terms of being resilient, how we bounce back when it comes from or when we're experiencing adversity. The second is it gives us a sense of direction as it relates to our goals, right? It gives us this direction in terms of leading us as it relates to our goals. Now, I value how she talks about this because one thing that Greenville Cleave shares is she calls it fast forwarding your life. I love that because when I think of fast forwarding, I think of sometimes how we need to pause elements of our life. But I love that she talks about fast forwarding your life, really thinking about the end of your life. Right? Fast forwarding your life and thinking about the end of your life. So I'm going to share those questions with you in a moment to help you. But before I do, this is really a great opportunity to grab your well-being journal. For new listeners, I want to encourage you to find a notebook and share really some of the takeaways that you learned from this podcast. But this also is a great opportunity, especially with an episode like this, where I'm going to share some of these great questions that Greenville Cleave has posed to us. But this gives you another opportunity in terms of writing it down, having those questions, having a chance to write out those answers, if not, a little bit now, maybe a lot more at the end of this podcast. But it also provides a great resource in terms of having the well-being journal, in terms of designing your strategy as it relates to well-being. It's really a great place, a great space in terms of providing this insight, but it really provides a great roadmap, a really great roadmap. I was thinking it was at the top of my tongue, and that is it. Provides a great roadmap in terms of helping you develop your strategy. So today is a perfect time to have that well-being journal close to you. And if you're new to the podcast, I hope you start to think about what your well-being journal can look like. In previous episodes, we talk about the development of your well-being journal. So feel free to go back to some of those past episodes in terms of helping you craft your well-being journal. But it really is a great opportunity for you to write down again those questions that Greenville Cleve provides that are really thought provoking and empowering. So, are you ready? Are you ready for those questions? Let's share those fast forward questions now. So, the first one that she mentions is how and for what do I want to be remembered? Wow, think about that. How and for what do I want to be remembered? Remember, we're fast forwarding. So think about, what do you want to be remembered for? Right? What does that look like? That's number one. Number two is, by whom do I want to be remembered? By whom do I want to be remembered? I love this question because it really begins to think about some of the lives that we touch, right? By whom do I want to be remembered? Who are those people? Who are those positive relationships that you have? Who are those individuals that have inspired you? Or who are those individuals that you take pride in inspiring as well? Right? What does that look like? So I love that question. That's question number two. By whom do I want to be remembered? This is the third one. Which of my accomplishments and personal strengths would I want others to talk about? Think about that. Which of my accomplishments and personal strengths would I want others to talk about? I love that because she shares it, I feel like, in twofold: accomplishments and personal strengths. What are those things that you've achieved that you are so proud of, right? But also what I love is that she creates another dynamic and letting us think about what those personal strengths are. In the previous episode, I talked about what are your superpowers, right? This speaks to that. What are your personal strengths? So, once again, which of my accomplishments and personal strengths would I want others to talk about? I will tell you that in terms of my character strengths, and I have taken the VIA character strength survey, through the Authentic Happiness website, cultivated by one of the founders of positive psychology, which is Dr. Martin Seligman. One of my character strengths, one of my top, happens to be gratitude. And so when I look at this question, and it talks about which of my accomplishments and personal strengths would I want others to talk about as it relates to me, I would hope that people would say, you know, she never went a day, or I never had a missed opportunity with her where she didn't tell me how grateful she was for my presence in this world, or how grateful, Kortni's always told me, hey, Dr. Kortni's always said, hey, I am so grateful for your friendship, or I'm so grateful in terms of how you're such a phenomenal person, a great being. I'm so grateful for the generosity that I've seen you give to other people as well as myself. I'm so grateful to see how you continue to inspire the world. I'm so grateful to see all that you've done. So I would hope, when I'm thinking about and posing and looking at this question, that would be something that the people in my life would share, that she never missed a day, or she never missed a moment of letting me know, or letting us know, could be individual or it could be a group. I just finished telling, it's so ironic. Before recording this podcast, I just finished texting two of my dearest friends, actually more than that, but two happen to be in a group text with each other. And I just shared with him how grateful I am for their friendship. And I also share with them that life is way too short for me not to let you know that today. And I let them understand how amazing they are in my life. So when I look at this question, I think about my character strengths. And notice I focused in on my personal strengths opposed to maybe some of the things that I've accomplished, but either or. Like I'm very proud of, the aspiring journalists that I've helped over the years. I'm very proud of being able to help so many managers and executives, and I am so proud of being able to continue to share information and to be able to serve as support to people who've gone through loss the same way that I've gone through loss, right? In terms of losing a spouse or losing a parent or just losing a loved one, right? So I love what this question says because it speaks so much in terms of meaning and purpose. So that is question 3. Let's head over to question number 4. All right. And question 4 is this: when I look back, am I satisfied with the life I have lived? Now that needs a pause. Think about it. When I look back, am I satisfied with the life I have lived? Where are you in terms of the life satisfaction there? Right? This is very reflective. So it allows you to think about, wow, am I satisfied? Starts to make you really look at your quality of life. Starts to really have you reevaluate your well-being. It may have you look at so many different things, right? But what I love so much about it, it is extremely reflective. When I look back, again, am I satisfied with the life I have lived? And the last one is, am I living my life in such a way now that this will be achieved? Let me say it again. Am I living my life in such a way now that this will be achieved? How are you living life right now? Right? So Greenville Cleve shares that these questions in terms of helping us understand not only our life values, but our goals. And also living your life based on what you wish it to be, or what you aspire it to be, or what you thought it would be, right? In terms of seeing where you are. So if you answered no to the last 2 questions, right? 4 and 5 that I mentioned previously. 4 was, when I look back, am I satisfied with the life I've lived, right? That's number 4. Number 5 is, am I living my life in such a way now that this will be achieved, right? If you said no, think about how you can make small steps to head into the direction of your purpose. So she shares so many inspirational information as relates to this book. But what I love are the other questions that Greenville Cleve shares and inspires us with. Another one is, in terms of looking at these 5 questions that I just shared, start to ask yourself, what can you really do realistically? Right? What things are within your control? So begin to really reevaluate what it looks like. And what are you currently doing to move towards the direction of your goal? What are you doing now? But what I love is thinking about that in terms of these small steps, right? She also advises us to keep our responses safe and kind of look back at them. You can do it in either a few months or you can do it in a year. What I love about sharing this now, because, here we are starting 2021. Many of us are, 13 days or depending on, a couple of weeks in, or it also depends on when you listen to this podcast, right? Into the new year. And this is a great time in terms of being reflective and being able to think about these questions now, include them within your well-being journal, and also being able to look back at that journal, those questions, those answers in a year. But what I also really value is doing a check-in every few months to be able to see where you are. Because what that does, it really creates, to me, a great opportunity for those small steps in terms of, oh, wow, okay, this is where I am. This is what I'm going to do to achieve it. Another element that she shares is you can revise these goals. But what it does, those questions, what they do is it really helps you learn more about who you are, you, and what well being means to you. I also treasure that she shares that some of us, we may think that our life purpose can be, very clear, but research supports that it can be a slower process, which means it can take time. It can take place over time. All right. So I know this too well in terms of my own personal life. When I was working as a television reporter in Philadelphia, my life purpose changed when I lost my late husband. I say that because ever since I was 7 years old, I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I knew I wanted to share stories of individuals from around the world and provide information. But once I became a widow at 25, my purpose shifted. I saw time differently and I saw sharing information differently. So for me, it meant going public, talking about his death to help other people that were going through loss. It also meant working in management and really feeling so much fulfillment with helping my news team develop and grow. It also meant working on my MBA when I was serving as a news director to really have a high level of training when it came down to management to really serve my team well. It also meant shifting, helping my news team to now helping the industry. So I went from working on my MBA, finishing and graduating that program, and then working on my PhD. And obtaining that degree was to help me work on research to help other news directors when it comes down to well-being in newsrooms. Now that has grown to helping managers, executives from all over the world in terms of valuing well-being at work and creating happier workplaces. It's also meant training the next generation of journalists, executives, and professionals. So what happened to me with experiencing loss, that it wasn't just one simple element or one simple job in my life, as you noticed that, right? It's not like I said, well, I stayed there and that was it. What it did, it allowed me to really become fulfilled on so many different levels as it related to what my calling is. So it didn't keep me. I felt like my meaning and purpose didn't keep me in one thing. What it did was it allowed me to share information in terms of multiple facets to help people, to help organizations. And one thing that I adore so much about the journey is that how it speaks to other people. And it brings me so much meaning and understanding my purpose in terms of how it helps other people. I often tell students this, that nothing in life is wasted. So I remember a student approached me. Actually, I've had quite a few students ask me to share this information with me. A student shared with me, or students have shared with me, like Dr. Alston. I was in a class. They'll say that it was such a waste of time, and and I've heard multiple different classes, and I won't go into those examples of the classes, but I've heard from students, Dr. Alston, that the other class that I took was such a waste of my time. And this is what I've learned as it relates to life experiences and challenges. And because of that, I share this with students. I tell them, quote, that nothing in life is wasted. We can learn from all experiences in our lives. We have to reflect and value the journey to do just that. So nothing is wasted. You learn from every dynamic and experience that you have. But what I think is even more phenomenal, to be very honest with you, is being reflective and saying, wow, I learned something there. Even if you don't like something, you can learn from that. You say, wow, I've learned that I won't do that because I just didn't like how that, person might have managed it. Or, gosh, this was a horrible experience. What did you learn from that horrible experience? So I love how all of those experiences that I just shared with you, how meaningful they are in terms of my fulfillment, but also how richer it is as it relates to my experience to be able to provide that information with others. So I want to end this podcast with a long quote from Greenville Cleve. I love quotes. Everyone knows I love them. My students would tell you this. Those of you who listen to the podcast know how, Dr. Kortni, she loves quotes. I'm so inspired by them. This one is a little long one, but it's a long one, but it's so meaningful. It's so meaningful. And again, this comes from Greenville Cleve. She says, and again, I am quoting her, quote, psychology theory suggests that there are several different pathways which lead to meaning and purpose in life. Firstly, you can be proactive and put in the effort over time, gradually refining your life's purpose until it becomes crystal clear. Secondly, you may experience something which changes your life forever, such as a birth of a child or a serious illness. The event may compel you to think differently about what you do and where you're heading. Thirdly, you may uncover your life's purpose through a process of observing other people, perhaps learning from and modeling them. In order to increase your chances of discovering your purpose, it helps if you're curious and ask questions about things. Wow, I love it. And that's end quote, prior to saying me saying wow. But again, she ended it with, it helps you, it helps if you're curious and ask questions about things. And that's where she ends that quote. That is powerful because those questions, again, provide insight. I hope you ask questions. I hope you think about your story. I hope you're inspired by the story of others. But I hope that if you answered no to those previous questions that we talked about, I hope you discover the questions that help you have a deeper meaning or a richer perspective about yourself. I hope it will provide a yes of living with a greater sense of life satisfaction and also living your life in the way you have always hoped to do. I am so sorry to end this podcast because, guys, I really enjoy the time of being able to share this information with you. Thank you so much for supporting the Courting Happiness podcast. Let's continue this conversation online. Join the Courting Happiness podcast community in Facebook. Don't forget, it's Courting with a K. Our private Facebook community is a safe haven to share, meet more people looking to build positive relationships, focus on well-being, and create a happier life. Now, are you ready to spread happiness? I hope you subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, coworkers, and all the important people in your world. We release a new episode every Thursday. Congratulations on your continued commitment to your courting happiness journey. We want you to be well, be happier, and be kinder to yourself. We can't wait to see you next week.